And yeah, let me show y'all real quick something that we picked up today. This is what we're going to work on a little later. Speaking of GQuuuuuux, very surprising that this actually we actually found this. And yeah, we'll kind of get into that a little later. But yeah, I figured we'll kind of work on this. We'll work on it a little later. But yeah, I was so surprised because they had so many Gunpla kits at GameStop. It was the weirdest thing. And quite frankly, I felt like it's the new thing there. It's sort of replaced Funko Pops. They still have a smaller Funko Pop section, but like a year ago, 2 years ago, that was primarily what they sold. It seemed like over at GameStop was like a big fucking wall of Funko Pops. And for some reason, yeah, I noticed that there was this one section, a bunch of Gundams, and then up at the top row of the store, like the top rack, they had several perfect grades and master grades. And then another section of the store, they had even more Gundam. And then another section of the store, they had more Gundam. And it was like, whoa, what the heck is going on here? And some of you might know that GameStop also carries their own line of like in-house branded electronics and accessories called like Biogenic or something. Like if you need a carrying case for your Switch, you can get like a Biogenic thing, whatever. And they have Biogenic nippers. Now they have bio, I think that's what it's called. They have nippers and they have paint. They have like a freaking paint set, and they're in bottles just like Vallejo bottles of paint. It's the weirdest thing. It is wild. It's very bizarre. So but yeah, let's get working on this. Very excited. Picked this up today, as a matter of fact. And my brother got one too. It's the GQuuuuuux, and it's so funny talking about this and talking to other people in real space and having to use these words, having to actually say this. My brother was like, yeah, I came in, I called about a Gundam, and the people at the store are like, oh yeah, that one. I don't know what it's called, I don't know anything about it, but the name of it is the thing that caught my attention. Looks nothing like a duck. Yes. Yeah, that's all part of the lore. Just you wait and see. The lore will be revealed. Why it looks like candy. According to Steph, the head looks like candy. Why is it called GQuuuuuux? So it's a mild spoiler. They don't fully address that in the movie, but GQuuuuuux, if I believe that's how it's spelled. GQuuuuux is a term used in programming, and it's supposed to represent a placeholder, some kind of placeholder for the real name, for the real whatever it is that you are calculating or programming for. So that does play into what I want to say is that could play into the rest of the series. They do mention that, like, that it does come from programming, and it's real. I had to look that up. I was like, is that an actual real thing, or is that fake? But yep. And so it could be that the real name, the true name of the GQuuuuuux is yet to be revealed, and much like the Witch from Mercury, there could be some kind of opportunity for it to upgrade as the show goes along, as the series goes along. Maybe it'll kind of get some visual upgrades. It'll look different. Look at that pose. That pose is insane looking. Alright, let's change this. Couldn't decide on a name, yeah. Yeah, it's always a thing, right? All right. Yeah, let's get started. GQuuuuuux, a mysterious state-of-the-art mobile suit piloted by Machu. It participates in clan battles as part of the Pomeranians. Amate Yuzuriha, also known as Machu, a high school student whose name is Amate Yuzuriha. Machu has always felt that her daily life in a peaceful colony was somehow false. After meeting Nyan, she becomes the pilot of the GQuuuuuux and begins participating in clan battle. Yeah. There's so much more to that. Like, having seen the movie, there's like so much more to the story, but I mean, yeah, that works, I guess. That works. And let us begin the work on the GQuuuuuux. We're going to need D and B and A. Well, let's just open up everything. Let's just open up everything. You can take a look at the runners too. Not too many runners. It is an HG after all, so it's not like it's not going to be a big dealio. And I really don't know how large this thing is going to be. I imagine it'll be fairly typical for your average HG, possibly even smaller than, let's say, the Ariel. It seems to me like it could be smaller than the Ariel, but I'm not sure. The Ariel had a lot more mass, you know, in terms of like its thick thighs. All right, let's get B. Let's go. B39. And this one is very skinny. Okay, there's 239 pieces that we need. Let's also be careful not to lose any pieces. IBO and size, interesting. I haven't built an IBO kit. Wait, have I? Well, the MGSD, but I haven't built an HG, so not really too familiar with how big those are. 5, here we are. Again, I'm a little scared of losing a piece. I did lose a piece last time I streamed, but it was unimportant. It was like an extra piece, didn't need it. I started to clean up and sort of look through my entire room and workspace. The last place I heard it fall, where it landed in the general area, but I couldn't find it. So I looked in the instructions, like, oh, I don't actually need it though. That was for the Mecha Musume kit. Being generous. Surprised were you by the first act? Very surprised. So I'll say, Doc, that I was like, what I want to say, like mildly spoiled, like on GQuuuuuux stuff. I kind of knew some of the broad strokes of what was going to happen, just because people can't help themselves on the internet. Like, try as I might, I was trying to avoid spoilers, but there was still some folks discussing stuff on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, so on and so forth. Even thumbnails, even Bandai themselves, they were putting out like spoilery images of things that happened in the movie or show. So I couldn't really help it, right? For example, the kind of like alternate timeline, shall we say, I knew about that. Now, despite that, it was still very, very surprising how all that plays out at the end, at the first act, especially because, like, it just keeps going. It's not just a little like, hey, here's this cheeky little reference and then on with the rest of the movie. No, they give you the full package of like of of what would it be like if blank had the blank. If blank got in the blank. They explore that, and it's actually really cool to see all of that. And I was thinking to myself, like what would this be like for someone that hasn't just isn't familiar with Gundam? And we had Kiona. Shout out to Kiona. You know what? I'll shout out Kiona in a second. I should have done that, but shout out to Kiona, our pal from Germany. She's not too familiar with Gundam, broadly speaking, the Gundam story. And sure enough, she said that it was a little confusing, but it was still good. Big cheese, and I know. I was like nerding out. Like within the first 3 minutes, I leaned over to my brother and I'm like, oh my gosh, is this what they're doing? They're doing blank? Right? And he was like, calm down. Just sit down. Calm down, please. It was just fun. It was really fun, and my thinking is that we aren't really going to explore that too much with the rest of the series, and maybe we'll kind of circle back around to that more towards like, you know, the end of the season, the end of the first season, and whatever. Like, my big takeaway, my big hope, my big wish for this series is that, I've said this before, is that they take all the time they need to tell the story that they want to tell. Because that's what I felt was really missing in The Witch from Mercury. As much as I like The Witch from Mercury, it just kind of, it really feels like, yeah, we gotta end this now. So boom, boom, boom. Here's all this stuff that happens within the last 3 episodes or so. And I think it just needed a little bit more time to marinate, a little bit more time to cook, and let that story breathe, and let the emotions kind of resolve, shall we say. And to say nothing of the mobile suits that appear at the end, the Schwarzette and the Calibarn. We just don't really have any time to feel attached to them, other than the fact that they look really cool, and they're strong. They're cool and they're strong and powerful. It's like, we've spent so much time being attached to so many of the other mobile suits, and in the case of the Ariel, like, it's a mobile suit that actually has a conscience. It's actually a person, and all that just kind of, they just kind of quickly deal with it. What's this in reference to? Oh, I'm just talking about like how for Mercury, I would like for it to kind of cook more. Oh, hold on. There we go. That is one head down, and there's one more to go. Yeah, I think Magnum Malo is going to come as well. I think Magnum Malo is on its way. But yeah, there's the head of the GQuuuuuux. This is kind of like how we see it most of the time. And again, as far as Gundams go, this is a very unique looking design. It does have the cues. It does have the kind of like regular Gundam things that you would normally associate them with. It's just kind of arranged it in a way that's very unfamiliar. A size comparison? Alright, let me get... I actually keep the entry grade RX-78 for this reason, for size comparison. So let's take a look at the RX-78. I think I have 40 plus hours in the game. That's pretty good value. Yeah, I would say that's a pretty good value. And there's really so much you can do in the game. Okay, here, look. Whoop. There we go. Here's the wee little RX-78 head. And there is the GQuuuuuux head. There you go. Pretty close, actually, as far as, like, how big it is. So it'll be interesting to see how big, how large the model will be when it's all finished.